What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cab Show. NFL Week 2, some big games. Shout out to my Indianapolis Colts finally getting a dub. I knew they beat the trash-ass Texans. I just knew it. I seen it coming. Shout out to Anthony Richardson, 2 touchdowns. Even though he did leave the game early with the concussion, we got the job done. We got the W. My thing is with the Indianapolis Colts and Anthony Richardson is we got to keep him healthy. That's the most important thing for the Colts moving forward. Besides getting our best player back in Jonathan Taylor, overall, we need these things. We need Anthony Richardson 100%. We need Jonathan Taylor to come back by week 5. That's what we need for the Indianapolis Colts to make the playoffs. Get to the next step, get over the hump, but a big win by the Colts. But, am I really surprised? No, not really. I mean, Zach Moss had a pretty good game, rushing-wise, 88 yards and a touchdown, so he did his thing. But the Houston Texans, still young, C.J. Stroud, a rookie quarterback out of Ohio State, super young, he did his thing. Nico Collins snapped off 2 touchdowns, just went insane, a touchdown, 146 yards receiving. He went crazy for Houston. So if you had to play it in your fantasy this week in week 2, which is very unlikely, but if you did, I mean, homage to you. What a time. I mean, good comeback for sure. But overall, it was all Indianapolis Colts. It's what I thought it would be. So shout out to Colts finally getting the first win all season long to the trash Houston Texans. I'm not real surprised. I'm not convinced. The Colts are still not a playoff team. And then we got the Thursday night football game. This was an easy game. Had Minnesota losing to Philly. I just thought Philly for sure was going to win, no matter how many defensive players were out for Philadelphia. But it was all Philly. DeAndre Swift, 175 yards rushing and a touchdown. Went crazy, went insane. Ran all over Minnesota's defense. Devontae Smith, 131 yards receiving and a touchdown. Jalen Hurts still a little quiet, 193 yards, a touchdown and a pick. But still, it was all Philadelphia. They're 2-0 right now, even though Philadelphia's not looking like a top team right at the moment. But overall, they're getting W's. And the most important thing, the Philadelphia Eagles will be back next year in the playoffs. Just like they lost in the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs, they'll probably be back to the Super Bowl. I really believe that. I would choose Philadelphia over Kansas City right now to make the Super Bowl. I understand Philly's got Patrick Mahomes, I understand Kansas City has Patrick Mahomes, the child boy, the golden boy of the NFL. But overall, I'm telling you right now, I just don't see Kansas City repeating. That's why I'm saying that. But I just like Philly, man. I really do. Kirk Cousins, 4 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson continuing to do his thing, 159 yards receiving. Jordan Addison, who's on my fantasy squad, who I started this weekend over Kenneth Walker, which really did pay off. Even though Kenneth Walker had 2 rushing touchdowns for Seattle, Jordan Addison, I'm telling you, he's becoming their number 2 right now behind, obviously, Justin Jefferson. But overall, right now, Minnesota has so many weapons, yet they're still losing games. I'm looking at the quarterback play and realizing, look, if you guys are going to keep Kirk Cousins, it's just not going to be the guy. He's just not the guy to get you over the hump into the Super Bowl. That's why I'm saying that eventually Kirk Cousins will be gone. They'll bring in a new young quarterback. Who knows who that's going to be? But to move forward, to go over the next step, Kirk Cousins isn't the quarterback. I'm sorry, Minnesota Viking fans, but it was all Philly. Shout out to Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles getting the job done. And then we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Chicago Bears. Look, the Bears, they're trash, man. They really are. It sucks. Justin Fields, he had an interception, a pick 6, and 2 touchdowns. But I'm just looking overall. DJ Moore over 100 yards receiving. But other than that, it's like the Bears don't have anybody. They don't have anybody on defense. They just give up big yards after big yards, big plays. Baker Mayfield, a touchdown, over 300 yards passing. Mike Evans, 171 yards receiving and a touchdown. It was all Tampa here. And then Shaquille Barnett, a pick 6. He did homage to his long-lost daughter. So shout out to Shaquille Barrett. I mean, what a time right now. Losing your daughter, pick-sixing it, giving it back. So I think that's great for Tampa and Shaquille. But overall, I'm looking at Chicago Bears and realizing, dude, they're not going to be anybody special for years to come the way they're playing right now. I don't know if it's the head coach, the program in Chicago, what it is. I wouldn't blame Justin Fields just yet. He's still young, still developing, still got a lot more to learn in the NFL. So I would not give up on Justin Fields if I'm the Chicago Bears. Not whatsoever. He's still that guy right now, and he has a great playmaker to throw to DJ Moore. So for me, it just doesn't make sense for Chicago Bears to go in a different direction that way. But I just think the Bears, they need to start defense-wise and adding more pieces around Justin Fields. That's how they're going to grow. But other than this year for the Chicago Bears, they will miss the playoffs. So big win by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2-0 for Tampa. Who would have thought with Baker Mayfield as starting quarterback ever since the GOAT Tom Brady retired out of Tampa? It's been, kind of like one of them cold nights, right? But yet the sun's going to still come up. It really is. And Baker Mayfield right now is 2-0 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just out to Tampa, 2-0 start. And then we got the Buffalo Bills beating the Las Vegas Raiders, really killing them 38-10. It was all Buffalo. This was a bounce back change from Josh Allen. And this is what I thought Josh Allen would do, have a bounce back game, 274 yards passing and 3 tutties. It was all Josh Allen. And like I said, I expected this from Josh Allen. I expected you to have a good game after throwing a terrible game last weekend on home opener in New York against the Jets and really choking it up. But, Josh Allen came back. Gabe Davis, 92 yards receiving and a touchdown for the Bills. And it was all Buffalo Bills. Great defensive scheme as well. Jimmy G, 185 yards passing with a touchdown and 2 picks. Like I said, they went from Derek Carr, a better quarterback, to Jimmy Garoppolo, a shittier quarterback. That makes a lot of sense, Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know what they're thinking, but they definitely lost on that one. And then Josh Jacobs, really not a big game. He's on my fantasy team. Only put up 8 points for me, dude. And I'm losing by like 13 right now. And I'm kind of like devastated at the moment. I'm thinking, dude, really? Josh Jacobs had a great year last year, and this year is just starting off really slow. I want him to kick back. I want Josh Jacobs to bounce back next game. Devontae Adams, a touchdown, 84 yards receiving. But it was all Buffalo Bills, which I thought it would be. Shout out to Josh Allen and Buffalo getting a turnaround win. And then we got the Baltimore Ravens beating the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals right now, it was kind of weird. Bengals were 3.5-point favorites this game, right? And a lot of people went Bengals. Why did I go the Baltimore Ravens? Was simply because of Lamar Jackson and better coaching in Harbaugh. That's why. And obviously Justin Tucker, the best field goal kicker in the NFL, getting that kick in the first half, at the end of the first half, which really led them to the victory, to 27-24. And it was all, shout to Gus Edwards. What a running back he is for Baltimore. Probably the best running back in the past 3 years for the Baltimore Ravens is Gus Edwards. Mark Andrews had a touchdown, 45 yards receiving. Lamar did his thing, 2 touchdowns, 237 yards passing. So it's all Ravens here. And I'm looking at Cincinnati and looking at Joe Burrow and thinking, Joe Burrow is still not 100%. Do I want to give him an excuse? No. I just think looking at Cincinnati right now, there's no reason why they should be losing some of these games. Especially last week, week 1. But Joe Burrow, just 2 touchdowns and a pick, 222 yards passing. And then we had T. Higgins finally snap off, 89 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase just 5 targets, 31 yards. I just think overall Cincinnati, they need to get more quicker routes. You have so many options out there. You got Joe Mixon, you got Jamar Chase, arguably one of the best receivers in the league, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. There's just so many weapons on Cincinnati. Offensively, I'm looking at their defense and saying, hey, this is the problem. The defensive secondary for Cincinnati is the issue there. Giving up 27 points to Lamar, that's just right there that you're going to lose games like that. With Lamar Jackson at quarterback, and what Lamar's doing right now, he's not doing anything fancy, not doing anything over the top. What they're doing right now is Baltimore is doing what they've always done in the first half of the season and get W's that they should. Even though they were underdogs in this game, I thought for sure it'd be all Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens going over the top of this. And that's what it was. So shout out to Harbaugh, shout out to the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar getting the job done, getting a victory, even though they're underdogs. Shout out to the Ravens. Bengals need to get back in the win column. They're 0-2 yet again to start the season. So shout out to the Baltimore Ravens. And then we got the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. I picked Kansas City in this matchup. I thought for sure it'd be all Kansas City. Like I said Kansas City unless Travis Kelce's not going to start. He started. He played. Travis Kelce had a tutty. So shout out to Kelce. I think Lamar Jackson, not Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, arguably the best quarterback in the league. Really, even though I would put Lamar in the top 5, I definitely like Patrick Mahomes. Over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and a pick against Jacksonville. Only 17 points. And really, we look at Kansas City, and they always put up big numbers. 17 really isn't a lot. So we got to give, homage to Jacksonville Jaguars defense. But 9 points isn't that much. For Trevor Lawrence and company, you got ETN. You got Christian Kirk, who I picked up off my fantasy squad, who snapped off 110 yards receiving. ETN just 40 yards rushing. It's not enough. And Trevor Lawrence, 216 yards. I think, Jacksonville understands that, hey, Kansas City is the team to beat in their overall. in that division, and I think, Kansas City eventually they're gonna win in the AFC South. They're gonna beat the Houston Texans. They're gonna beat my Indianapolis Colts and Tennessee Titans. I think overall what they're more worried about is later on in the playoffs. They're going to have to go against Kansas City. They're going to have to go against a team like Baltimore. That's what they're going to have to go up against. But Jacksonville, I'm not really worried. I expected them to lose. Shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs and Mahomes. Like I said, Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, and it showed here. Shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs. And then we got the LA Chargers versus the Tennessee Titans. I picked Tennessee Titans in this match, I picked the Chargers in this matchup. This was my lock pick, and my lock pick did not hit. It was Tennessee all day. They won in overtime. Shout out to Nick Folk, game-winning field goal in overtime. It was all Tennessee. Derrick Henry, touchdown, 80 yards rushing. Tannehill didn't have a terrible game. 246 yards passing and a touchdown. That's probably why Tennessee won, because Tannehill didn't throw any picks. And then Justin Herbert, 305 yards passing with 2 tutties. Keenan Allen, who's on my fantasy squad, snapped off. 111 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. I'm still losing through this week. It's crazy. But I think, Tennessee, they got the job done, and I did not see this coming. I thought for sure it'd be all Chargers. I thought for sure it'd be Eckler. They were just really quiet, and I'm not sold on the LA Chargers. I'm really not. They had a lot of hype even last year when they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs. Just so much hype around Justin Herbert. I'm not bought into Justin Herbert. He's a quarterback that's 0-2 right now, 0-1 in the playoffs last year. So to me, it's a big question mark. I don't know about Justin Herbert. We can't say that he's a superstar yet. He hasn't proved anything. He's 0-1 in the playoffs. What does he prove? Nothing. So I think Tennessee Titans, man, what a win. What a win. They were 3-point underdogs. Tennessee all day in this matchup. I did not see it coming. Shout out to Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry getting the job done. And then we had the Green Bay Packers versus Atlanta Falcons. This was literally a coin flip game for me. I went Green Bay last second, even though Atlanta won by 1 point, 25-24. Desmond Ridder had a rushing touchdown, 237 yards passing. You got Robinson, 124 yards rushing, the rookie out of Texas. And then Drake London, a touchdown. And it was all Atlanta. They came back. They dealt with adversity. Jordan Love, even though he's a great quarterback right now for Green Bay, I think he learned a lot from Aaron Rodgers. Really calm and composed, 151 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. And really, he couldn't do anything else. I mean, it was all Jordan Love. The reason he was in the game was because of Green Bay's offensive line and Jordan Love. Other than that, it was all Atlanta here. It really was. So shout out to Atlanta Falcons. I knew this would be a coin flip game. It made sense. It was in Atlanta. So shout out to Atlanta Falcons. But Green Bay, nothing to hang your hat on. Jordan Love is the real deal. That's what I'm sold. After 2 games, I realized Jordan Love is a gamer, dude. He stays in the pocket, really calm, doesn't panic, doesn't freak out when there's, 3 or 4 rushers at the time. He goes in and he plays and he performs and he will take a hit. So that's what I like about Green Bay moving forward. Even though they lost this game, they won a lot more long term. So big win by the Atlanta Falcons, getting the job done. Shout out to Desmond Ridder, man. First-year starter in Atlanta, man. Out of Cincinnati, big win by the Atlanta Falcons. And then we had an overtime game. Overtime game, Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks. I picked the Detroit Lions, man. I didn't think it would go overtime, but it was all Seattle in overtime. Tyler Lockett had the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Shout out to Tyler Lockett. DK Metcalf, 75 yards of receiving. Kenneth Walker, like I said, 2 touchdowns. Geno Smith, 2 touchdowns, 328 yards passing. Trey Brown from Seattle had a pick 6 against the Lions and Jared Goff. 3 touchdowns, 323 yards receiving. St. Brown over 100 yards receiving. So this is definitely an interesting matchup. I mean, these guys, we could see these guys back at the end of the year, definitely in the playoffs. I just think, for Detroit-wise, it sucks. You lost to them last year. That was your game to go to the playoffs. They lost. And then this year, they lose in an overtime game in the regular season in week 2. It's definitely heartbreaking to be Detroit Lions fans. Bitter taste in their mouth from Seattle and Coach Pete Carroll. But overall, Seattle, they brought the A game. They just played a little bit better game, and that's all it takes in the NFL. I didn't see it coming. I picked the Lions at 6. I thought they'd cover it, but Geno Smith, man, DK Metcalf, the receiving core for Seattle was a difference maker in here. It really was, and then obviously Trey Brown's pick 6. It was amazing. So shout out to Seattle, the well-deserved victory, even though I didn't see it coming. Shout out to Seattle Seahawks over the Detroit Lions. And then we got the New York Giants over the Arizona Cardinals. I picked the Giants. I didn't think it'd be this close, 31-28, super close game. The Giants were down by 21 points, came back from a 21-point deficit Daniel Jones, 321 yards passing, 2 tutties, and 1 pick. Saquon Barkley, 63 yards rushing and a touchdown. And for Arizona, it was all James Conner, 106 yards rushing and a touchdown. But I'm looking at Arizona and realizing, dude, they're going to be the worst team in the NFL. They're going to get the first pick overall in the 2024 NFL draft, and they'll probably pick Caleb Williams. You know, that's just how it goes sometimes. Kyler Murray, I think he's out of Arizona eventually. But the Giants coming back down 21, built with adversity and resilience, and they said, you know what, we're never going to give up. So shout to the New York Giants, man. They got the job done. Even though they should have blown this game out, they came back. Daniel Jones never gave up. Shout to Saquon Barkley. Shout to the Giants getting the job done on the road. And then we got the San Francisco 49ers versus the LA Rams. Look, I had San Francisco all day in this matchup. Christian McCaffrey, 116 yards rushing and a tutty. Debo, 63 yards receiving. You got Brock Purdy, over 200 yards passing. That's 49ers for you right there offensively. Now, defensively, they're great. We know that. Overall, Matt Stafford had 2 interceptions and one touchdown this game. Over 300 yards passing. Kyren Williams, he had a touchdown out of Notre Dame. Shout out to Kyren Williams. But overall, I'm looking at San Francisco and realizing they are the most stacked roster in the NFL. They had the best, probably best defense and one of the best offenses in the league. They really do on both sides, defense and offensively. So I think San Francisco is the team right now that's number 1 overall, in my opinion. I mean, you got McCaffrey, you got Debo, you got George Kittle, you got Brandon, you got so many stars on offense, not to mention their defense. You know, you got Fred Warner, one of the best linebackers in the game right now. You got Nick Bosa, just stacked, man. I'm telling you what right now, San Francisco is a hard team to beat, and if they continue to win the games really close, look for them later on in the season, get a home field advantage in the playoffs, and that's going to be very dangerous for the San Francisco 49ers to get home field advantage come playoff time, because that's something you don't want to happen. You don't want that to happen, and if they do, San Francisco is going to be the team to beat. I'm telling you right now. Shout out to the San Francisco 49ers. And then we got the New York Jets versus the Dallas Cowboys. This was an easy pick. After Aaron Rodgers is out for the year with the Achilles tear, I picked the Cowboys at 8.5. This was probably the easiest pick all weekend. This was a gimme pick. You know, you got Dak, 255 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, 143 yards receiving. He did his thing. That's the Cowboys. You know, the Cowboys only gave up 10 points to Zach Wilson in this offense. Zach Wilson had 3 interceptions and just 1 touchdown, and the touchdown was to Garrett Wilson, 83 yards receiving and a tutty for Garrett Wilson. But overall, I'm looking at the Cowboys and realizing, hey, they have a top 2 defense in the league. Them and San Francisco 49ers right now. So that's the matchup that's going to be interesting to see moving on in the future. Definitely come playoff time will definitely be the Cowboys and 49ers. Just a classic matchup. We saw what happened last year. Yet again, the Cowboys came up short yet again. But I'm telling you, the Cowboys are a different team this year. And I say that because of defense-wise. They're one of the best defenses team in the NFL. They can cover. They can go man-to-man. They can go zone. Whatever, essentially, the Dallas Cowboys want to do on defense, that's what they're going to do. So that's the difference right now. But as far as Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and that offense, it's the same mojo. You know, they can score on anybody. But the thing is, can they win the big game? Can Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys get over the hump and win the big game? That's a huge question mark. Nobody really knows. But, you know, shout out to the Cowboys getting the job done. And then we got the Washington Commanders versus the Denver Broncos. I picked the Washington Commanders. Denver was 3.5-point favorites. That was a dumb pick. It really was. Russell Wilson, 3 touchdowns and a pick. He really should have had 2 touchdowns. Threw it up at the very end of the game, the Hail Mary pass that tipped it in for the touchdown to make it 33-35. Then they missed the 2-point conversion with 0 time left. So, you know, I'm looking at Denver right now and realizing, look, they're going to move on from Russell Wilson eventually. That's just how it goes. Just the mojo, the flow's off. I don't know what it is. I don't want to blame strictly Russell Wilson. But overall, you have Sean Payton, a new head coach in there, a great veteran coach. So I don't know. What excuse is it for Russell Wilson? Because right now, I think you know, the energy, the hunger, the passion for Russell Wilson is gone for the NFL right now. I just don't see it at the moment. I really don't. Shout out to Sam Howell, 299 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. I mean, Brian Robinson Jr., the running back for Washington, 2 tutties. You know, Terry McLaurin, 54 yards receiving and a touchdown. It was all Washington Commanders. Well-deserved for the Washington Commanders, getting the job done on the road in Denver, where Russell Wilson is just not looking the same. He's really not. So big win by the Washington Commanders. And then we got the Sunday night football game, Miami Dolphins versus the New England Patriots. I picked the Dolphins. They got the job done. This was another easy pick. I don't really believe in New England's offense. I don't believe in Mac Jones. I don't believe what he does. He's not a gamer, man. He's just not. Even though they do have Stevenson, a good running back, 50 yards rushing and a touchdown. Mac Jones, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Just average. Average at best. That's what Mac Jones is. Tua, 249 yards passing, a touchdown and a pick. Kind of quiet for Tua. I wanted him to put up 4 touchdown passes with 0 picks for my fantasy squad. Please, Tua, I need you to go up for 30 plus every single week. That's what Tua needs to do. Tyreek Hill, 5 receptions, 40 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle, 86 yards receiving. It was all Miami here. Miami on the road. Right now, Miami Dolphins are such an underrated team. They probably have the best offense in the NFL right now. You got Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I mean, dude, that receiving core alone right there. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek, dude, nobody could guard both of those guys, especially Tyreek Hill. Nobody could guard him one-on-one. I mean, overall, it was a heck of a time. Then, like I said, the Monday Night Football game, I got the Saints over the Panthers, and then I got the upset alert, the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Cleveland Browns. That's my upset game. But as far as the whole week went, week 2, really some good picks. I got the Lions game. That was one game that really hurt. The Lions and the Chargers game that I got wrong, that I should have got right. I thought for sure that was my lock pick, the Chargers over the Titans. But, Seattle got the job done. In Detroit, what a time. But shout out to my Indianapolis Colts, finally getting back on the win column, 1-1, baby. Take off with Anthony Richardson. Take off Indianapolis Colts. It's the NFL. It's the Cloudwood Cab Show. Let's go!